In short, the story you are about to hear is one of the most shocking downfalls in music history, because it tells how David, once seen as a young rising artist with everything ahead of him, ended up standing in front of a judge, confessing to the unaliving of 15-year-old Celeste, and was sentenced to life imprisonment, though whispers in the background suggest maybe he was never the real monster at all, but rather the shield for someone else whose identity may forever remain in the shadows. From the very beginning of this tragic story, the air was heavy with disbelief, because David was no ordinary name in the industry. He was a type of artist critics call the future sound, a voice meant to define a generation, a creative who built his career on vulnerability and soul. He was just in his late teens when people started calling him a phenomenon, the kind of talent that only comes around once in a decade. And yet here he stood in a courtroom, hands cuffed, eyes red, lips trembling, confessing to something so dark, so disturbing, that even the most hardened journalists could not bring themselves to write about it without pausing to breathe. Please do not forget to like this video, share and subscribe to this channel if you want more updates like this. Thank you. Now, let's get back into the video. The beginning of his downfall was not sudden, though. It was gradual, hidden in whispers, late-night rumors, and cryptic posts online. When Celeste, a 15-year-old full of life, disappeared, her family's desperate search collided with David's glittering world of tours and interviews, and the intersection would forever destroy both. At first, nobody suspected him. After all, why would they? David was adored by millions. His fan base treated him like he could do no wrong, and his music painted him as someone sensitive to pain, not the cause of it. But the night authorities discovered Celeste's body inside the trunk of a car linked to him, the narrative began shifting violently. What followed was chaos. Social media explosions, fans defending him blindly, critics dissecting his lyrics for hidden confessions, and police moving quickly to detain him. When he appeared in court for the first time, the scene was surreal. The courtroom was packed wall to wall with reporters, cameras flashing every second, the quiet sobbing of Celeste's mother echoing over the clicking shutters. David walked in wearing a simple gray suit, but there was nothing ordinary about the aura he carried. It was the aura of a fallen star, someone too young to be facing life in prison, yet too guilty to ever walk free again. The prosecution wasted no time. They laid out every detail meticulously: the timeline of Celeste's disappearance, the digital footprints, the testimonies of people who had seen her last, the discovery of her body, and the fact that her DNA and traces of her belongings were linked directly back to David's car. The evidence was crushing, almost suffocating, and as it piled up, whispers turned into gasps in the gallery. David sat there, head down, knuckles white, and for a long time he refused to look anyone in the eye. His defense team tried desperately to shift the narrative, suggesting possibilities of manipulation, coercion, or even framing, but none of it could withstand the weight of the truth that eventually poured from David's own lips. Because one afternoon, midway through the trial, David stood up, asked to address the court, and confessed. The silence that followed was unlike anything anyone had ever experienced. Total, absolute silence, as if the air itself was too stunned to move. He admitted he was the one responsible for Celeste's death, though his words carried a strange ambiguity, a shadowy undertone that suggested layers beneath the surface. "I did it," he said, voice breaking. "But not everything is what it seems." His confession, though damning, left more questions than answers. Why did he do it? What pushed a promising young star into such darkness? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, was he protecting someone else? There were whispers in the courtroom, whispers that have since followed him into the prison where he will spend the rest of his life. Some say David took the fall to shield someone close to him, someone powerful enough to manipulate the narrative, in someone who would never see the story you are about to hear as long as shocking downfalls in music history. But speculation aside, because it tells how the judge had no choice. Once seen as a young rising artist with everything ahead of him, the evidence undeniable, ended up standing in front of the judge. The sentence was delivered, confessing to the unaliving of 15-year-old when those words rang out. He was sentenced to life in prison. Family broke into tears, whispers in the background suggest relief that justice never finally the real monster at all. Grief that no sentence could ever bring back someone else whose identity may forever remain in the shadows. as if accepting from the very beginning of this tragic story, the air was heavy. The cameras caught every second because David was no ordinary name in the industry. Tears slipping down his cheek. Artist critics called the way he nodded ever so slightly as the gavel define a generation. And just like that, built his career on vulnerability. One of the brightest young stars was over. He was just in his late teens. What made the story even more chilling was how the world reacted. The kind of talent that only comes around divided into two camps. And yet here he stood. Those who refused to believe he was handcuffed, eyes red, covering for someone trembling, confessing to something so dark, angry that they had poured so much love into someone that even the most hardened journalists could not bring themselves to write about it. An entire podcast sprouted up dedicated. Please do not forget to like this video, analyze, share, and subscribe to this channel. Dissecting every lyric he had ever written for hidden meanings. Thank you. Now, some pointed out how the songs often dance around the beginning of his downfall was loss and guilt, though interpreting them now as prophetic warnings hidden in whispers, late-night rumors. Others insisted this was all a tragic misunderstanding. When Celeste, a 15-year-old young man trapped by circumstances we may never fully understand, her family's desperate search collided with David's glittering world, beyond the endless debates. One intersection of forever destroyed. Celeste's life had been cut short. At first, nobody suspected him, whether acting alone or shielding another. Had taken David was adored by millions. The way of that cannot treat him like he could do no wrong. No matter how many his music painted him as someone. What makes the story almost not the cause of it is what the night authorities discovered Celeste's body inside the trunk of a car and someone else. The narrative began shifting violence, buried under layers of what followed was chaos, fear, or manipulation. Social media explosion. If that is the case, fans then we may never truly know the full story. Critics dissecting his lyrics because David seemed determined to carry the secret, and police moving until his last breath behind bars when he appeared in court. And so his story becomes not just one of crime and punishment, but a mystery was packed wall to wall with reporters, and a haunting possibility. Cameras flashing every second. Walks free. The quiet sobbing Celeste's mother echoing still the clicking shutters. The final chapter. David walked in wearing a simple gray suit. But there was nothing ordinary about the image of him being let out of the courtroom in chains. The aura of a fallen cameras capturing his final glimpse of the outside life in prison has become iconic, guilty to ever tragic way. Again. It is the image of wasted no time. The image they laid out every detail meticulously. The image of a justice system. The timeline of Celeste as someone who once seemed untouchable. The digital footprints. As for Celeste, the testimonies of her name is now etched in public memory. The discovery, a reminder of innocence, the fact that her DNA, a reminder of how quickly lives directly back to David's car, and a reminder that behind evidence was crushing, family almost suffocating, pain that never fades. And as it piled up, her story, whispers turned into tragic gallery, has forced conversations about celebrity culture, knuckles white. And for a long time, he refused to look anyone in the eye. And so we close this chapter knowing that David's voice will never again rise on suggesting possibilities, never again echo coercion or even frame, never again promise. But none of it would stand the weight of the truth that eventually poured from David's own lips. Because one afternoon, midway through the trial, David stood up, asked to address the court, and confessed. The silence that followed was unlike anything anyone had ever experienced. Total, absolute silence, as if the air itself was too stunned to move. He admitted he was the one responsible for Celeste's death, though his words carried a strange ambiguity, a shadowy undertone that suggested layers beneath the surface. "I did it," he said, voice breaking. "But not everything is what it seems." His confession, though damning, left more questions than answers. Why did he do it? What pushed a promising young star into such darkness? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, was he protecting someone else? There were whispers in the courtroom, whispers that have since followed him into the prison where he will spend the rest of his life. Some say David took the fall to shield someone close to him, someone powerful enough to manipulate the narrative,